Hey, smell that? That's death.
What the hell is this place?
Slidguard, hang on!
This thing's moving!
Amazing, right? So let's real quick go down, introduce yourself, a little short background of how you got where you are. Erin?
Oh, hi. Does that work? Okay. Hi. I didn't expect to go first.
You sat first.
My name's Erin. I'm an art director and assistant art director.
Here.
That's not working. Hello? Is it on? How's that? Testing?
Is that better?
Oklahoma? Hey! So let's see. I'm an art director, assistant art director. I kind of had a roundabout way getting where I am today. I have an art background, but my father was heavy into stagecraft, so I was around a lot of theater, and I loved watching movies as a kid. So I think I realized that I wanted to make movies. I just didn't really know in what respect. It's a large world with a lot of pieces and a lot of people contributing. And so I went to film school, and there you kind of study a little bit of everything. And I moved out to LA after film school, not really knowing anyone or what I wanted to do. And after couple years as a PA in various departments. I found my way into art department, which I think I had a root in from when I was younger. And here we are today, because I think it's really cool that we get to create these worlds that these characters are going to live in and inhabit and do that.
And Andrea Honorado is a specialist set designer.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me? Is that okay? Hi, I'm Andrea. I'm a set designer. It's really nice to be here. I'm from New York originally. I actually studied architecture at Cornell University, and I worked in architecture for a bit in New York. Didn't find it very fulfilling, kind of struggled with the creativity there. So I quit my job, I packed 2 bags, and I moved to LA, which was kind of the scariest thing I think I've ever done. But I was very lucky that when I got out to LA, I worked for a visual effects company called New Deal Studios that does sort of miniature effects for films, a lot of Chris Nolan films, a lot of action films. And that was really sort of my big break, because I worked with them on Interstellar, and we created the bigatures of those spaceships, the Endurance, the Ranger, the Lander. The work was incredible, but the best part about it is I felt like I found my people. You know, I was with these incredible artists and model makers and just these amazing people who would nerd out over the same things that I loved. You know, we were making things with our hands every day. And I just met some great mentors there that helped me eventually get into the Art Directors Guild and, you know, continue on various amazing films. So, yeah.
Hannah Beckler, production designer. I'm sure we're all familiar with her work.
Hello, I'm cosplaying. This is Aksa. We're gonna call me Aksa for the rest. That's my character that I made up. How did I get here? What do? I'm a production designer. I fought my way here, and I won an Oscar. That's my story. But you know, every story is a fingerprint. Everybody gets there different. Nobody gets into this business the same way. I fell into the business. I fell into the art department, and I just worked and struggled and was a single mom and all kind of problems, and went out and moved to New Orleans and just worked my way up. So, and I never left New Orleans. I still live there. I don't need to go to the coast to have a career. So nobody does. Don't think that that's what you have to do, because you do not have to spend that type of money to get to this point. You know what I mean? Like, if you're in a place you think that it's not gonna happen, it will. You just gotta use the resources that you have instead of thinking you need other people's resources. So it's really a singular thing. Mine was a weaving path of, you know, joy and distress and all kinds of crazy stuff. So, you know, and I think when I met Ryan Coogler, it was just, my path had lights on it suddenly. It wasn't less crazy, I could just see where I was going. And then when I did Lemonade, and then went in and did Black Panther, and now I'm just trying to figure out what's next. I'm probably gonna direct in a couple years, so that's... So ladies, we need to not just do it, we need to own it, and we need to own the rights to it. That's my story.
Ashrita Kamat.
Hi, I'm Ashrita. I am an art director currently, but my story started, I'm originally from India, and I moved here for grad school, and I went to the American Film Institute in LA. But before that, I was actually a sociology major in Bombay. But being in Bombay and it being the heart of Bollywood, like, I quickly realized that I was getting very bored. I mean, sociology is fascinating, don't get me wrong, but film is just even more exciting. So I started assisting right out of college. My undergrad, I started just kind of interning and in assisting other designers. And they actually all, thinking back now, they all happen to be very strong and capable and talented women. And they actually encouraged me, because Bollywood is fun, and but I wanted to work and design the movies that I wanted to watch, which was a lot of stuff that was coming from Hollywood. So I assisted with them, and then they encouraged me to study. So I kind of figured out, okay, I wanted to go to AFI, and I started like working towards that. came to AFI, again, packed up, like Andrea, two little suitcases all the way. It took a 27-hour journey, came here, knew nobody, but met people. Kate and I went to school together, and kind of started from there. And again, once we graduated, started from scratch and just worked up very, very slowly. It took a lot of hard work, but I think I'm glad where I am currently.
And then Ellen down there?
I'm Ellen, I'm a graphic designer, and I've only been a graphic designer. I started out in art school and didn't know what I wanted to do. I used to say I was a professional dabbler because I would just be like, now I'm gonna do this, now I'm gonna put something on Etsy, now I'm gonna do this. And I always really loved film, but you know, advertising just felt like a little bit like I was selling my soul. And the thing I always remember is like, art can't hurt you. All art can do at its best is inspire you. It might disgust you, but I was like, I just want to do something that like people actually see, that they have an emotional reaction to, and that if at the end of the day, you know, inspires them to do something creative, I think it's beautiful, because art's what we leave behind, you know, and film is that medium in our culture that has allowed us to talk to people all over the world. So, big ideas. But yeah, I just happened to get into film. I helped a friend out because I love movies and I knew how to do graphic design. And 20 years later, I'm still doing it. So thank you for all those who keep hiring us. But really, this is our posse. Like, it's cool.
So I don't know about you guys, but I know when I talk to people, when I tell them that I work in movies, they're usually their first reaction is, that's amazing. And then when I tell them what I do in film, they say, oh, you pick out furniture. And I say, no, I'm a set designer. Even my parents, my dad will talk to me on the phone and he'll say, I really liked that couch that you had in there. So thanks, Dad. So I think a good idea, just to dispel some of the illusion around what we do, if you could just quickly go through, like, what is a typical day like for you? Like, coming in morning, what is it that you do?
I spin plates. Yeah, my day usually starts with a 5 a.m. panic call from construction. When it differs based project to project, and also what stage of production we're in, if we're still prepping, if we're putting a set together. So, I mean, I'll usually have multiple sets going at once, and the job of an art director is basically to manage all the pieces to make sure that the designer's vision is realized and that comes to screen. So it's working with the set designer, it's working with construction, it's working with even grips and lighting and set deck and everyone, and making sure everyone knows what needs to happen, and just keeping that organized, any changes that come through or notes. I'm a project manager, I guess. Creative project manager.
You put out fires.
Yes, definitely.
Lots of fires.
All the fires.
As a set designer, similarly, project to project is always very different. It depends on who you're working with, who you're working for. In my position, depending on how the designer works, sometimes I'll get anything from a concept illustration, which an artist and illustrator has done a beautiful image of what a scene in the movie should be, all the way to sometimes a designer will give me a sketch on a little piece of paper and a reference image and say, can you figure out something that looks like this? And I take that reference material and I bring it into a 3D modeling program. I use Rhino every day. And I'm 3D modeling the space. And depending on the project, sometimes it'll be 2 days, sometimes it'll be a week. Hopefully it's a month. We spend time, developing that space to figure out what the build set is going to be, what kind of action's going to be in it, whether there's, a fight scene, so we need more space because they're going to throw some guy through a window, or if it's a Fast and Furious movie, a car has to come through the window. We're figuring out what's happening in that scene. And then part of my job is to either use that 3D model to help fabricate, whether it's 3D printing or CNC printing various things, or I'm making construction drawings, which then our art directors get to help manage that construction process. And then on our big sci-fi movies, the piece of my job that I love the most is normally we're also designing that digital extension. So if the designer has a vision for the rest of the world, that when the movie goes into post-production and all of that, the set may have a green screen, we have to design what's in that green screen. So we'll sort of create those digital assets to do the rest of the movie, which is just, those worlds are so fun to work on.
Okay, a day. Well, I'm going to give you 2 days. So I'm going to give you a day on Panther, and I'm going to give you a day on Moonlight, because they're very different days, because they're very different movies. It's much of what these ladies say. I think a big part of my job is to also find brilliant talent like the people sitting on this panel to help create the films that I make. But a day on Panther, and I will give you not a glamorous day, but I'll give you, because every day is glamorous. Can you tell? I always tell people I still pick up my dog's poo. So, but a day would be that I get into the office, the first thing I do is I talk to my supervising art director, and we show each other funny videos, and then we talk about the budget, and we talk about, I'll vent for at least 20 minutes, and we try to figure out like what are we, where are we with the builds, where are we in the schedule, did the schedule change with the actors? So I spend a lot of time with them. Then I run over to my illustrator's room. My favorite people in the world is just go in the illustrator. I give them the hardest time in the world. I'm the second designer. I will give you a sketch on a napkin, and I will sign it because I'm just that girl. And some reference pictures, and then we'll talk about like, okay, usually I try to give my illustrators each get a set. And on Panther, Till Novak worked on Golden City for 10 months. So it would, I speak to them for 2 hours in the morning if they show up, because illustrators. And if there's any illustrators out there, they're probably like, And then and I'll go back to them at the end of the day to see where they are. And usually we try to get 2 drawings out every couple days, and that's fast, and that's a lot. If you're an illustrator, that's fast. And I look for fast as well as talented. And then I usually have meetings with producers and the director. I always sit down with the director, and he'll check in with me, I'll check in with him. I'll try to talk to the actors when I can. I'm meeting with VFX, I'm meeting with costumes, props, set deck. I'll try to hit the mill, I'll try to hit the paint shop, and I'll try to hit at least 5 or 6 sets depending on where they are. I'll talk to the construction coordinator, and then I'll go talk to all the foremen, and I'll sit with my scenic charge, and we'll look at whatever is up next. So that's a typical everyday. I start at 6 in the morning, and I'm an early bird, early to rise, early to go to bed. So I'm trying to be into bed by 6 o'clock, but usually there's some phone calls that are happening. So I'm the one that's working from my bed. That's a typical day on what you would say is a $200 million movie for me. Now let's go to a $1.5 million movie. Because my typical day is coming into my staff of 3 people. And with my boots and my work kit, because I'll bring my kit, and we'll go to the set and I'll paint, and if I got to build a flat, I'll build a flat, and I will mud the flat, and I will sand the flat, and I will paint the flat, and I will pick up the furniture at the thrift store. We will unload the house that needs to be loaded up, which we did for Juan's house in Moonlight. And we took everything out, and we picked everything up in the truck. I drove the truck, put it in the truck, because Goodwill won't do it for you, and no matter what you tell them. And we unload it, we put it in, and this is me and 2 other people doing all of these things. If I need more paint, I need to go down to the paint store and get it. So my day, I also did a lot of the graphics and tried to do as many clearances myself as well. I'll sit with Barry for a little bit, we'll go over the script, and I'll sit with Caroline, who is the costume designer, and we'll talk a little bit about the look, and she'll complain she has no money, and I'll complain that I have less, so she should stop complaining that she has none. And then we all realize that none of us have any. And then that's the end of my day on that. But I do rely heavily on a crew. So on something like that, I am the crew. And on something like Panther, I learned how to delegate very quickly. So, a designer is all things, but mostly you want to be there for your director. And you want to be able to guide the ship that is the vision once you kind of set the vision with, depending on, if you're at Marvel, it's a lot of people. I was lucky in that they really kind of stepped back and let me stand at the podium, and I was very grateful for that, as well as Ryan. So you know, that's my day. I give these guys work.
Yeah, I think. I think you guys covered it pretty well. But just to add, I think, to what you said, I mean, all the stuff that a designer does, we are pretty much support. We, like, as an art director, I support the designer. I make sure that she or he gets to all their various schedules. They get equal time with everybody. So as Erin said, we are project managers, but I think we're also creative problem solvers, because anytime there's always fires that we're putting out, regardless of the project, regardless of budget. There's always, the plan is supposed to go one way, it will go the other way. So it's like, when it does go that way, what do we do? How do we react? Who can, and it's usually like, the designer's one direction, the plans change in another direction. What happens? She can't make it there, he can't make it there. We have to go figure out, okay, like, let's get this done, let's source this out. It's also, I think there's a certain amount of commitment from everyone on this team. I think it's a commitment to the project, because you just have to be available and respond immediately. The other thing that I think we also do currently is, it's with all the movies, more and more movies are going VFX heavy, and that involves, while it gives us a larger playing field and it opens up the digital world for us, it's also us giving information to them, and the communication of all of that, like what happens in the art department and how it goes to the VFX kind of world and how it goes to the vendor. That's all stuff that we also need to keep a track of. So this is like all the gears you're seeing behind the pretty pictures on the screen. But yeah.
I always say I'm the whipped cream of the cake that's the movie, because like graphic design, I'm hired by a production designer. I work usually in the art department, but I kind of can touch every different piece. I mean, I might be making custom props, designing costume patterns, doing carpet on the floors, doing wallpaper on the walls, and but also sometimes world building. Part of that, creating that visual language. Like, what's fun about working in sci-fi fantasy is sometimes you're trying to ground the world because it's so crazy, but sometimes you get to be part of the visual crazy. So that's the fun thing about every movie's different. You don't ever know exactly what you're going to be jumping into. And, then you have this other amazing team of creative people who help you realize that visually. It's pretty awesome. It is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard work. We all
It's
work
fun
really
too.
hard.
I think we have fun days, right? We all have fun
Yeah.
days. I mean, Ellen and I have worked together. Andrea and I have worked together.
Yeah.
We've done it's been long days, but it's been fun days, right?
Yeah.
She's like, she gave the Khaleesi squint smile. Yeah. Right? Fun? We think. Yeah. I tell you what, it's the cosplay. But I just want to jump in real quick and just say how much I do rely on my art directors, set designers, and graphic designers. And it's not just them being project managers and whatever. I mean, they are also a great source of emotional support. And I do, if I can't make it there has been a day on a Marvel film where I was in meetings from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. without even getting up from the same table. And in that day, I had gotten to no sets. I have talked to none of the people, and I rely heavily on my art directors to do those things, and to keep the ball moving and the train moving forward. I rely on them to have a certain amount of, and I'm a hard production designer. I'm not an easy production designer. I'm a fabulous person, but I could probably be pretty hard as a production designer. So there's a lot that weighs on these ladies' shoulders especially when you're talking about giant movies and the expectations that come with that, because inevitably, my expectations for the people that work with me are as high as my expectations for myself. So if the road needs to rise to meet me, and there's a lot of stress, I mean, they're way far more stressed out and have more going on than I do on any given day, because I can't walk into the set and it's like, why is the glass milky? Somebody's going to answer the question, so they're solving the problem before I even see the problem 97% of the time.
So I have a list of questions here, but I really want you guys to be able to ask your questions too. So I'm going to do one more, I think, and then if people in the audience have questions, there's a microphone right there. So the last question I think that I have for you, and don't hate me for this, but like, what is the one piece of advice that you think that you would give? In the industry that we work in is still a very male-dominated field, and we've all managed to work our way in there. But what's the one piece of advice that you would give to a woman who is looking to get into this line of work?
I feel slightly hypocritical giving this advice because I have to give it to myself every morning, and that's don't be afraid. It's, if you want something, don't sell yourself short, just go for it. And I think the thing, especially as not only as women, but artists in general, I think our biggest fear is, and something that dictates a lot of our decisions, is the fear of rejection, the fear of failure. And I think you just have to, accept that that's the worst thing that could happen, because otherwise you just never went for it. So I'd say just go for it.
I think I wake up and give myself that advice often as well. Of all the art departments I've been in, I can normally count the number of women on one hand. It's normally the number that's at this table right now. And I find that the women who do my job, it's even less. Or Hannah's job even. I mean, it's a tough industry. But I have been mentored by some really incredible men who have encouraged me. And, I guess the advice I would say is, from time to time, I'll walk into an art department and I feel underestimated. And that's a hard thing to feel. And my advice is, use that as a strength, not a weakness. Stand tall, hone in your craft, let your work speak for itself. If you're an artist, work on that artwork because it will speak for itself. And don't be afraid to have an idea. Everyone can have an idea. Doesn't matter gender, doesn't matter race, doesn't matter anything. Put yourself out there for sure.
I think the best advice that I can really give is to any young woman, and again, advice that I have to give myself every day. I think we all have to give this advice because, I always say it's like, just because you say it, you still are learning it. But the best advice and good advice that I've gotten, and I actually got this advice from a man, not that that's surprising, but he said, I'm sticking my foot in it. But he said to me, and I was shocked when he said this, you don't have to be liked. Don't worry about being liked. And I thought, what are you talking about? And then and it didn't dawn on me until much later, what he was really saying to me is that I don't need to put myself aside and worry if someone likes me and not do something. Being liked is like we may dumb ourselves down, we may all of a sudden, whatever. Just don't worry about being liked. I think it's a female thing where you want people, everybody, I don't know, it's a nurturing thing. It's, I wouldn't say all humans, but you know what I mean? Like, I would just say don't worry about being liked, and no is just as powerful as yes. Like, put your foot down sometime. Don't always just say yes because I'm the go-to person. I can do this, I can do this. I mean, if you have a line or if there's something that you don't know how to do or you can't do or you don't, just say, or you don't want to do. Somebody asked me like, well, why didn't you do that movie? And because I didn't want to. And, no. I don't, and I was in a place where I felt like I had to do every movie that came my way because I should be grateful that that movie even came my way or that I was even offered that job as a production designer being a woman. And so I would just say yes to anything. And then I realized, like, that's not benefiting me at all. Saying yes to just whatever. It's not building the type of film, filmography that I want with my name on it, and it's not doing the things that I want in the world. And the minute I started saying no to things is the minute my life started changing because Fruitvale Station came 3 weeks later. So know that. No is okay.
I think what's helped me in the past is to have, or at least to try and have, a kind of a go-get-'em attitude. And I think that's something that I know I look for when I am looking to get people on board, because I just want somebody who's kind of just going to go for it, give it their best shot, work hard, and then I react like how I have been treated, where I get empowered. I have been in places, in all my various jobs, moving through this industry, I've always been empowered. So I think if you recognize that talent, I think it's important to empower it and to encourage it and to move that person forward. And those two things, like encouragement, empowerment, and a positive attitude, I think is something that I know would help. Great.
Everybody said such a great thing. Yeah, and I would just say find your posse. Like if you're somebody who's moving along in life, you know, I was a young mom and I started in this business and nobody else had kids. And then I've managed to find all these incredible people, some who have kids, some who don't, but they've all supported me along the way. And you need that support, because sometimes you do feel a little bit like an island doing what you're doing. And when you know that you've got those people that you can turn to that are like, you got this. Because it is hard for us to tell ourselves that sometimes. So that's it.
So, anyone have any questions? There's a microphone right there. If you want to stand up. There's a microphone right there behind you.
This is for all of you. You seem to have the capability of hiring the people who want to work for you, and so this is an ageism issue. If you have two portfolios, one young woman is 30, and the other woman is 60, does that affect your decision?
No. And I'm going to tell you why. As soon as you started talking, I was like, and actually I just had this conversation with somebody when we were talking about this. And maybe in my naivete or my ignorance, I was like, is that really a thing? And she was talking, she's a costume designer, and telling me how she didn't get a job she felt. Because while she has a great resume, has been in the business for 20 years, is one of the best, that they went with somebody younger because they felt maybe her finger wasn't on the pulse. And for me, I want to hire people who have something to give to the story. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't, and I don't even know how this is going to play out in words, so I'm scared right now. But what I'm saying is, depending on what I'm working on, who has this experience or who has this lived experience in their life that work in these crafts that I can bring in that I know are going to bring something to. Now, like something on Panther, that's a little hard to do because, no one's lived in Wakanda. I'm not like bringing in resumes, but I certainly would never hire based on anything other than references and what you've done. What you've done in the past, your resume, and what you can bring to the table for me. It might not be the right fit, and it might be right that you don't get the job sometimes because then that's not the right fit. But yeah, I'm just learning about this, right? And I'm old as shit. And so I'm scared now because I'm like, is this something that's gonna happen to me in like a year, y'all? I'm like almost 50. And I'll be 50 next year. And thank you. So it is a thing, but I don't think that it's never affected me, but it is real. Anybody else? Does anybody else hire based on this or think about it? Ageism?
I had a designer call me, and the first question he asked me was, how old was I? Yeah.
And what did you say?
Well, the second question was I married? And the third was, do you have any kids?
And then the fourth was, goodbye, thank you, I don't want to work on this job. We just about had a girlfriend conversation right now.
I've definitely had the kids question.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
it's all illegal. It's lovely.
My question is, what was the process of meeting your mentor or your posse or people that really supported you on your way? What would you encourage someone to do who's at a point where they're really looking for that champion or that mentor, apart from just learning on every project?
really finding the people that I can go to for that?
I mean, I think just be open to people. You know, it's real easy, like you were talking about ageism, it's real easy to form judgments about people based on what your world is compared to their world. But the beauty about film is it brings in people from all different, you know, ways and means. And yeah, if you're open, you're gonna find people that surprise you. And I think that's one of the best things in life is to be surprised by people and the place you are.
And also, don't be afraid to ask questions. Yeah. You'll be able to tell by who you talk to who's willing to help, who's willing to offer information, who's willing to turn their computer screen and show you what they're working on, you know, versus ones that might not want to offer that much information, right? And lean into those people who are willing, because this business, we all have had people help us. That's how we're here, you know.
And do you have somebody that you look up to or that you admire, or you're like, I really want to have this type of a career, or I really want to talk to this person about their life?
There are some people I'm just always hesitant to reach out to.
Don't be, because let me tell you something. I get easy 40 emails a day through my agency, and I try as hard as I can to reach out to everybody. And it's just people like, can you talk to, you know, do you have 5 minutes on the phone? Do you want to have lunch? Can you, you know, when surprise a little girl up at any, you know, just whatever I can do. People reach out to me on Twitter. So don't ever be afraid to reach out to them, because they will want to talk to you. They really do. It's not as if they don't want to talk to you. So you might be surprised who reaches back out. I remember Nancy Haig, who is the Coen brothers set decorator, one of the most infamous set decorators in the business forever. And before I even got in the business, I hand wrote her a letter that people don't do anymore. And they were just getting started on Intolerable Cruelty. And I wrote a letter and told her, like, one day I want to be a set decorator and I'm going to do all this. This is my phone number. Sent it, put it in the little mail, and about 4 weeks later, I get this phone call, and I hear on the other line, "This is Nancy Haig. Is this Hannah Beekler? I got your letter. All right, I'm working on this movie right now, damn movie right now, you know." And I'm holding the phone. I'm like, "Mom, and she's like, "Well, what do you want to do in the business?" We talked for 2 hours. And that was maybe 20 years ago. Yeah. Oh my God. And I'll never forget that. And it gave me this extra light to keep going. And you're going to reach back for that strength because you're going to need it in this business, or any business for that matter, as a woman. So don't ever not do that type of thing. And if they don't get back to you, okay, you didn't want to talk to them anyways, right?
I can tell you from personal experience, when I graduated from AFI, I went on the Art Directors Guild website and I looked up art directors and production designers that worked, and a lot of them have their email addresses on the website. And I still am in email contact with some of the designers that I just randomly emailed. No one's gonna like write you back and say, I'm too busy to write, you know. They may not respond, but 9 times out of 10, that's really great. You know, let's get coffee if I'm in town working. It's just very positive experience. So that would be mine.
And also to add to what Kate said, it's important to not get discouraged. You know, if you don't get a response, sometimes you do get a response. I mean, one of the first, again, right out of AFI, I wrote to somebody who I really looked up to, and you know, I wanted to work with them really, really badly. And I was it took a lot out of me to, you know, kind of bare my soul and like write a letter and attach my portfolio, everything. I got a 1-word response: no. So it was just a no. It was like, and I had said I'd come to where you are, I'd come wherever. He was in New York at the time. I was like, I'll come there, I'll put myself up, everything. No. I'm like, okay, great.
But you keep trying.
But I kept trying, exactly. And then it's also when you meet the person, you will know, or you will meet the people. Like Ellen and I are now posse, right? Ellen, we are posse. Yeah, so I met Ellen on a show, and like it's been 5 years now, right? Yeah. So it's just, you meet people on shows. I mean, Zach Berger is sitting there recording me right now. Hi, Zach. Again, similar person, met him 5 years ago. You just create, you kind of will get that group, and you know it when you feel it. It's just it's a personal connection. It's always going to be a personal connection that takes you to the next level. So.
Hi, my name is Nancy Simon. You sort of just answered my first question. So since you all move around from film to film and art department to art department, it's contacting you personally in order to find jobs. I think that's what you all just said. And then my other question is, I'm a print advertising art director and graphic designer, and I want to, I guess, for Ellen, how would I transfer that to film? Like, what would you be looking for in a portfolio as far as seeing that would get me onto a set?
Yeah, it's coming from advertising. I mean, I would just say, like, every single way that you've ever applied a graphic, that's what you would want to see in a film. And truly, some films I'm there, like on Jurassic World, they were like, we need a park identity. So I did what an advertising agency would do. I created a brand. I built off of the very iconic image of Jurassic Park, and I was like, okay, it needs a new sign language that seems timeless but high end. So a lot of it has that sort of branding aspect to it. But sometimes it's also just making stuff look cool. I don't know how many meetings I've been in, they're like, just make it look badass. If you can just make it badass, you got it. So sometimes it's not even really about like somebody else's vision. It's just me like going like, well, what would look badass on film? Because I know this is going to get seen like on this guy's costume, and it's going to get seen here, and it's going to get seen here, and I just want it to look badass.
I'm going to use that word all day.
So I guess I would just say, like, if you want to get into film, like, yeah, meet other people who are working in film, and no, you guys. Be badass. No, yeah. No.
Make it badass.
I will say that having a great attitude and kind of being willing to do whatever, whenever, is sort of part of what we all do. And yeah, you do. I only say no when I think the design is crap. Sorry, can I say it? Because under 18, like, I will stand up for the design anytime. And I think we all probably feel that way. Like, you know, but in general, we're here to realize, you know. Does that answer your question at all? Yeah.
Thank you. Hello, ladies. We'll start off with thank you very much, Hannah, for taking a fictional world and turning it into a blueprint. Thank you for being the mother of Wakanda.
Oh, thank you. First of her name. Thank you so much. Wow, that's a huge compliment. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Thank you, thank you. So my question, I've been asking other panels since I've arrived in Comic-Con, and it's a very important question to me because I want to be a comic book writer. When I start my first project, should I start with a project of passion, or should I start with a project in which the story needs to be told? The people need to hear the story.
Passion. Because if it's your passion, then people need to hear it. Because in order for us to understand each other, I need to understand what your passion is. I don't need to hear a bunch of, 800 different, you know what I mean? It comes down to you. Because whatever you're doing and whatever story you're telling, you're going to tell that story 1,000 different ways for the rest of your life until you work it out, right? So tell me your story. Tell me your passion. That's what that's just what I want to hear. But, that's how I look at it for sure.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Michelle. I actually work in the theme park industry, and I am an associate producer there, and I'm trying to become an art director there, but I've kind of fallen into it. It's one of those things that you say you just kind of fall into the path. So I've never had any official schooling for arts, but being the associate producer, I do have that production management side of things. What are some other aspects I should focus on to get more into the art side of things for art directing?
Well, like I mentioned before, I went to school for film production. So when I got into the art department, I realized, oh, these are blueprints, and I don't know anything about architecture. So I actually did take night classes at UCLA Extension. I think it was a combination of learning on the job, having some fantastic mentors. I was a PA for many years, but I think that was also me not going to a specialty for art directing, and it was a learning on the job thing. So I think if you have that managerial part, I think that's really important, and that's something that can't really be taught as well. And the other stuff I think you can pick up. You can There are books, there are tutorials. Like, I feel like I've taught myself a lot along the way, as well as having great mentors.
And to add to what Erin says, it's also to understand the aesthetics of the project that you're working on. So if you're in the theme park industry, there will be images that you're looking at of what they're visualizing for the world. I think it would be to get familiar with that, to understand the intent of what that is, and to try and impart that intent when you look at something. So, because that's what we do a lot of the day. One part is project management. The other one is also to understand what the production designer, what their vision is, what the vision for the story is. In this case, it'll be a theme park. But is to understand that, and then to be able to distill that information and give it to the other people that you're working with as well, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Hey, how's it going? So I'm in the art department, and I thought I was going to have a super great, insightful question for you guys, and stood in that line for like 10 minutes, couldn't think of one. Now my best friend is disappointed in me. My question for you guys is like, just working in the art department, have you ever just like made something so kick-ass, and then saw it on screen and was like, shit, I did that. Like, have you guys had that moment, and then what was that like for you?
I'm sorry, can you say that again, just a little louder?
Sorry. I was just saying, did you guys ever like make a set, make a graphic, like make a decision that was just like so kick-ass, and you saw it back to you, and like what was that moment like for you? Like freaked out, and tell everybody, was that really like a defining moment? And like maybe what was that moment? Like was it?
Well, I would say part of my job is to make multiple iterations for the designer, and more times than not, they're going to come in and say, "Don't like that one. That doesn't work. Absolutely not. Nope." Because part of the process, honestly, is figuring out what you don't want too. Sometimes it's good, and art speaks back to you. So as you create something, sometimes you'll figure out, "Nope, that is definitely not what we want." And I roll with it. Some days are easier than others. There are some days where maybe I have to go take a walk around the lot and take a deep breath, get a cup of coffee, then go back to my desk. And then other days I'm like, all right, well, she doesn't like it, but I like it, but whatever, it's for me. You can't, it's subjective, art's subjective.
But that's the stunt department who are like hitting golf balls, like, that's so kick-ass. You know what I mean? Like the art department is over here like freaking, it's not perfect.
Right, we want it better.
It's 4 in the morning and I still have one more peg, and it's like getting the phone call, like the pool of water that they need to film in 1 hour is now the floor of it is bubbling up. Do you know what I mean? It's just one problem after another sometimes. I don't think I've ever made anything, like done anything where it's like, okay. Like I love like looking at illustrations, and I love looking at, plans. Like most people don't like that, but in 3D models, and I think that's kick. I think what they do is kick ass. I don't know about anything I do. But the Kimoyo beads, that is the day. That was the day when, oh look, girl. Okay, look, I just did that, didn't I? Was that out loud? That was supposed to be in my head. But the day that we made those, and we made a prototype, because they had different beads and I hated them. And I kept bringing it up in meetings, like, maybe we need to do something about the beads. And they're like, no, they're fine. And I was like, but they're not fine. They can't, in my head. And I was like, you can't use these. So I went on the down low. I did a whole like Mission Impossible thing where I like grabbed different people. I'm like, we're gonna design Kimoyo beads and not tell anybody. And we're gonna spend lots of money on it, and they're gonna sign off and not know. So we did. And we, so it happened. And then we put the lights in it and everything, and I knew I just had to get to Ryan, because if he liked them, then nobody was gonna say no, right? So that's how that works. Learn how to trade horses, my friends, because that's how you get through this industry. I call it farming. Plant the seeds. It doesn't matter if it's somebody else saying it. It's your seed, and if you plant it and the idea grows, it's like, oh yeah, you have a great idea, whatever. And so I brought it to the set, right? And they were beautiful. And he was doing something with Denai or whatever it was, and they come over and I have this box, and prop guys are back there, and we're all like, okay, where are the producers? Because no, they didn't want us to do it. And I see Ryan, and I'm like, right. And he's like, what's up, man? And I was like, check it. Like I was like Gordon Gekko, or you know what I mean? Like it was Wolf of Wall Street. I was like, check it. And I like opened it up, and he was like, what? And it's like, look at the light, boom. And he was like, what? Him and his brother go running through we did the thing that you do when you run, and you're like, no. And And it was on, and I was like, "You like him?" He's like, "Oh my God, I love it." And then I said to the UPM and the line producer, "I'm like, you're gonna have to pay for that." Thank you.
So unfortunately, we're out of time for questions, but I wanted to tell you guys, we're doing, over in Sales Pavilion after this, we're doing an autograph session. We're all going to be there. There's going to be posters for each of them to sign, limited edition, just available here. If you want to meet us over there, talk a little bit longer, pull out your portfolios. And then, so just real quick to finish up, just go down the line, tell what project you're working on now, what we can expect to see from you in the near future.
All right. I got this movie coming out called Ford vs. Ferrari. It's awesome. It's going to be great. Check it out. Seriously. I wasn't into cars after this movie. I freaking love it. November 15th. Check it out. Also, Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn is coming out February 7th. Hopefully they'll drop a trailer soon for that because I think you guys are going to love it.
Nice. There is a new Christopher Nolan movie coming out next summer called Tenet. Go see that one. And I'm currently working on the new Batman movie.
Woo!
Cannot say anything about.
I can't say, but I will. I'm sorry. But I will say I did do a Todd Haynes movie a few months ago with Mark Ruffalo and Anne Hathaway based on a true story about the lawyer who sued DuPont for poisoning all of us. So I can't talk about that one. I can't talk about anything else. Black Panther 2, y'all.
I'm currently working on the Avatar 2 and 3 movies. Please go see them.
For the rest of your life.
I'm doing a Clint Eastwood movie. I wanted to get one in before he stopped making movies, and I'm super excited.
Okay, thank you everyone so much. Come over to the Sales Pavilion. It's what is the Sales Pavilion? Which booth is it? AA03. We'll be there in half an hour-ish.
Thank you guys for coming out.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.